Fluent, period. You've probably been lied to about learning English. People tell you to speak more, practice conversations, download apps, memorize vocabulary lists, watch TV shows with subtitles, repeat phrases 300 times. And sure, some of that helps. But there's one thing almost nobody talks about. One habit that quietly improves your speaking, your listening, your vocabulary, your grammar, your writing, and even your confidence at the same time. And the craziest part? Most English learners avoid it completely. Not because it doesn't work, but because they think they're bad at it. Today, we're going to talk about the most underrated language learning weapon in existence. Reading. But not the boring school version. Not forcing yourself through a 500-page book you hate. Not reading dictionaries. Not reading grammar textbooks until your soul leaves your body. We're talking about a specific way of reading that can literally change how your brain processes English. And somewhere in this video, I'm going to show you one tiny trick that can make your reading speed faster almost immediately. Most people never learn this. And once you understand it, you'll never read the same way again. Now here's the weird part. Your eyes were never designed to read. Think about that for a second. Humans existed for thousands and thousands of years before books were common. Your brain evolved to survive in nature, not stare at lines of text on a page. Your eyes are built to move everywhere. Left, right, up, down, quick movements, constant scanning. Imagine an ancient human walking through a forest. Their eyes had to notice danger instantly. Movement in the bushes, a shadow, an animal, another human. Your eyes were trained for survival, not paragraphs. And this creates a huge problem when you try to learn English through reading. Because while you're reading, your eyes naturally want to jump around. That's why sometimes you read an entire paragraph and suddenly realize, wait, what did I just read? Your eyes moved, but your brain didn't stay focused. And most learners think the problem is intelligence. It's not. It's attention. Now here's where things get interesting. There are 3 powerful ideas that can completely change the way you read English. And once these 3 things start working together, your English improves much faster without forcing yourself to study grammar all day. The first one is something almost everybody stopped doing after childhood. And honestly, that was a mistake. Use your finger while reading. Yeah, seriously. Right now, some people are thinking, isn't that for children? No. Actually, many fast readers do it. And there's a psychological reason why. When your finger moves smoothly across the line, your eyes become more focused. Instead of jumping randomly, your attention follows a path. Your brain stops wandering so much. And suddenly, reading becomes easier. Try this. Read one paragraph normally. Then read another paragraph while slowly guiding your eyes with your finger or a pencil. You'll probably notice something shocking. You understand more, because your brain stays connected to the sentence longer. This matters a lot in English learning, because English sentences carry patterns, and patterns are everything. For example, maybe you already know the word big, but while reading, you suddenly see huge, massive, gigantic, enormous. Now your brain starts connecting ideas naturally instead of memorizing random vocabulary lists. That's one of the biggest secrets of reading. Vocabulary learned through context stays in your memory longer, way longer, because your brain remembers stories better than isolated information. That's why you probably remember movie scenes from years ago. But forget vocabulary lists from last week. Stories create emotional memory, and reading gives your brain thousands of mini patterns without you noticing. But there's another hidden thing happening while you read, and this part is honestly kind of creepy. You are secretly speaking English in your head every single time you read, even silently. Scientists discovered this years ago. When people read, tiny muscles connected to speech become active. Your brain is quietly pronouncing words internally. This is called subvocalization, and this changes everything because many learners believe, if I don't speak out loud, I'm not practicing speaking. That's not completely true. When you read, the coffee is too hot, your brain hears those words internally. You're building pronunciation patterns. You're building rhythm. You're building sentence structure without even opening your mouth. That means reading is secretly training your speaking skills. But wait, it gets even better. Who is listening to those words in your head? You are. So while reading silently, you're also training listening comprehension. This is why people who read consistently often start understanding spoken English faster. Their brains already recognize sentence patterns. The words feel familiar, and familiarity is powerful. Think about music. The first time you hear a song in English, maybe you understand almost nothing. But after hearing it 10 times, suddenly your brain catches entire sentences. Not because the song changed. Your brain changed. Recognition creates speed. And this exact same thing happens with reading. The more words your brain recognizes automatically, the less energy it spends decoding, which means reading becomes faster and smoother and easier. That's why advanced readers seem to fly through books. They're not translating every word anymore. Their brains recognize chunks instantly. For beginners, reading feels slow because the brain is constantly stopping. What does this mean? What is that word? Why is this grammar weird? But after enough exposure, your brain stops asking so many questions. It starts predicting, and prediction is one of the biggest signs of fluency. Now here's an important warning. This next part might save you months of frustration. Do not read material that is too difficult for you. This is one of the biggest mistakes language learners make. They choose books that are far above their level because they want to feel smart. Then after 5 minutes, they feel exhausted and discouraged, and they quit. The ideal reading material is something where you understand around 80 to 85% of the words, not 100%. Because if you understand everything, you're probably not learning much. But if you understand only 40%, your brain becomes overwhelmed. You need a balance. Easy enough to follow, hard enough to grow. That sweet spot creates what psychologists often call flow. Flow is when learning stops feeling painful. Time moves faster. Your brain becomes absorbed. And honestly, this is where real progress happens. Not through suffering, not through forcing, through consistency. Now let me tell you something most people never realize. Children become fluent readers because of repetition, not genius. Repetition. Think about how many times a child sees the word thousands. Again, again, again. Eventually the brain stops decoding it letter by letter. It becomes instant recognition, like recognizing your friend's face. You don't analyze their nose first, then their eyes, then their mouth. No, you instantly recognize the whole person. That's what happens with words after enough reading. Your brain starts seeing entire word patterns automatically, and this creates speed. But here's the crazy part. The faster you recognize words, the more enjoyable reading becomes. And the more enjoyable reading becomes, the more you read, which creates even faster recognition. This becomes a powerful cycle. And most learners never enter that cycle because they quit too early. They think slow reading means failure. It doesn't. Slow reading is part of the process. Every fluent reader was once painfully slow. Every single one. Now, there's another important reason reading is incredibly powerful for English learners. It teaches grammar naturally. And honestly, this may upset some grammar lovers, because your brain learns grammar patterns far better through exposure than through memorizing rules alone. Think about this sentence. I've been waiting for hours. Most native speakers cannot fully explain the grammar structure technically, but they know it sounds correct. Why? Exposure. Years of seeing and hearing patterns repeatedly. Reading gives you massive exposure to correct English structure. Again and again, you start feeling what sounds natural. This is why some learners know every grammar rule, but still sound unnatural while speaking. And other learners barely know grammar terminology, but speak smoothly, because fluency is pattern recognition more than rule memorization. Now I know what some people are thinking, but I hate reading. Maybe, or maybe you hate reading difficult things. There's a difference, a huge difference. You don't need to start with classic literature. You don't need Shakespeare. You don't need academic articles. You can read things you genuinely enjoy. Stories, horror, romancy, science fiction, sports articles, gaming forum, short stories, simple news, even manga, even subtitles. The goal is consistency, not perfection. And honestly, people underestimate how powerful small daily reading habits become over time. 10 minutes a day sounds tiny, but 10 minutes every single day for 1 year? That's massive exposure. That's hundreds of pages, thousands of repeated words, thousands of grammar patterns, thousands of moments where your brain quietly absorbs English. Now here's where most learners accidentally sabotage themselves. They stop every 5 seconds to translate. Don't do that. If you translate constantly, your brain never learns to think directly in English. Instead, try to understand meaning from context first. For example, Jake was exhausted after running for 3 hours. Maybe you don't know exhausted, but you know running for 3 hours makes someone tired. Your brain connects the meaning naturally. That's exactly how children learn language. Through context, not dictionaries every 10 seconds. Of course, sometimes you should look up important words, but not every unknown word. Otherwise, reading becomes torture, and torture is terrible for consistency. Now, let's talk about something interesting. Speed reading. The internet loves this topic. People promise ridiculous things. Read 10 books per hour. Read 900 pages in 5 minutes. Relax. Real comprehension matters more than fake speed. If you read incredibly fast but remember nothing, what's the point? However, there is one useful technique advanced learners can use. Skimming. This is especially useful if you need to read a lot for school, work, or studying. Here's how it works. Most paragraphs contain a main idea near the beginning and another important idea near the end. So sometimes you can quickly read the first sentence and the last sentence to understand the core message. Then your eyes can scan for important details inside the paragraph. This helps you move through large amounts of information faster. But remember, this is not a replacement for deep reading. It's a tool, and tools should be used carefully. Deep reading is still where real language growth happens. That's where your vocabulary expands. That's where grammar becomes natural. That's where your brain develops stronger English intuition. Now, let me tell you something most learners completely ignore. Reading also changes your writing dramatically, because every sentence you read becomes another example stored inside your brain. You unconsciously absorb punctuation, sentence rhythm, transitions, paragraph structure, word choice, tone, emotion, and later, when you start writing, your brain pulls from those stored patterns. That's why great writers are almost always heavy readers. They've seen thousands and thousands of examples, and your brain learns through examples far more than through explanations. Think about athletes. A basketball player doesn't improve only by studying theory. They watch games. They imitate movements. They repeat patterns. Language works similarly. Your brain needs examples constantly, and reading provides unlimited examples. Now here's something funny. Many learners say, I don't have anyone to practice English with. But books are practice partners. Every page is communication. Every sentence is interaction. You're entering conversations written by people from different countries, different time periods, different personalities. Some books teach formal English. Some teach casual English. Some teach slang. Some teach emotional language. Some teach professional vocabulary. Reading gives you access to millions of voices. And unlike real conversations, books are patient. You can slow down, reread, pause, think, notice patterns. That's incredibly valuable, especially for introverted learners. Now I want to give you a challenge, a real one. For the next 30 days, read English every single day, even if it's only 10 minutes. But follow these rules carefully. Number 1, choose material slightly below your frustration level. You should understand most of it. Number 2, use your finger or a pen to guide your eyes smoothly. Train your focus. Number 3, do not stop for every unknown word. Trust context more. Number 4, read consistently. Daily consistency beats intense motivation. Always. And number 5, pay attention to repeated words and repeated sentence structures. That repetition is your brain building fluency. Now here's the part most people don't expect. If you actually follow this challenge seriously, You may notice something strange happening. English starts feeling less foreign. You stop translating every tiny sentence. Some phrases become automatic. You recognize expressions faster. Listening becomes easier. Speaking becomes smoother. Not overnight, but gradually, quietly, like your brain is reorganizing itself behind the scenes. Because honestly, that's exactly what's happening. And this is why reading is so powerful. It's not just about books. It's about exposure. Massive exposure. Consistent exposure. Comfortable exposure. Most learners dramatically underestimate how much input the brain needs before fluency starts feeling natural. Reading helps solve that problem faster than almost anything else, especially because you can do it anytime. On the bus, before bed, during lunch, while waiting somewhere. And unlike speaking practice, reading doesn't require another person, which means there are almost no excuses. Now, quick question. Have you noticed how some people study English for years, but still panic during simple conversations? Sometimes the problem isn't lack of grammar knowledge. It's lack of exposure. Their brains haven't seen enough English patterns yet. Reading fixes that. Quietly, patiently, powerfully. And if you made it this far into the video, you're already different from most learners. Most people want fast results without consistent habits. But real fluency is built through repetition, through exposure, through patience. And if you're serious about finally becoming fluent in English, subscribe to Fluent, period. Because this channel is not about fake shortcuts. It's about strategies that actually work in real life. And honestly, most people quit language learning right before things start getting easier. Don't be one of them. Now, before we finish, I want to leave you with one final idea. You do not need perfect English to start reading. You improve by reading, not before reading. That's an important difference. Many learners wait until they feel ready, but readiness comes from practice, not from waiting. Start simple. Children's books, easy stories, short articles, anything interesting, and trust the process. Because every page you read is another step toward fluency. Every sentence strengthens recognition. Every paragraph trains comprehension. Every repeated word builds speed. And eventually, one day, you'll open a book in English and realize something incredible. You're not translating anymore. You're just understanding. And that moment feels amazing. Fluent, period.